My brother had a 2600 when that came out. It was the wood paneled one.
Yeah.
The 7800 was metal and chrome.
It was like a boat, right? It was huge.
Yeah. It was a desktop PC and everything but name.
What's cool is I bet if you open that thing up, there's like one board and the rest is air, because that's how people did things in the 80s.
It was just heavy dense plastic because it was heavy too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember looking at that system. I was like, it looks so futuristic in 1987. How could anything look better than this?
That's amazing. You open up like an NES and it's mostly air. Like it's even the NES cartridges usually like have like one small little like 2-inch high PCB and the rest is empty.
That's why blowing in it was so effective. There was nothing but air. You had to push the air inside around to get the dust off.
YUNKJunk!
Hi everyone and welcome to Tubby Talk. It's the place for me, Chris, and him,
Steve.
Yeah, we talk about lots of things, usually video games, sometimes ice cream, but today we're getting back to video games. Getting back to our roots. And today we figured we'd talk about, there's kind of been a rash of remakes and revamps and retro remakes and revivals coming out, and I've been playing a couple that I've really enjoyed.
Nice alliteration.
Thank you very much. I learned it from Bugs Bunny. But yeah, I know Nintendo just released they called it it wasn't just indie showcase, but it was also partner showcase.
Oh yeah.
And they had a whole bunch of compilations and remakes coming out on that.
Like the Tetris one we couldn't remember the name of. There were like all the old Tetrises that were on Nintendo systems.
All of them.
Kind of smashed together, including I think the Game Boy one was on there too.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people loved.
But one of the ones I'm playing now, which wasn't on that presentation, weirdly enough, this game called Shadow of the Ninja Reborn. And this is a like from the ground up remake of an NES game, a late NES game. It came out in 1990 originally. So most people had moved on to like 16-bit. But you can
this
see.
looks 16-bit. Wow.
Well, yeah, it looks better than like any Super Nintendo game. This is like a, I want my 3DO.
Metal Slug, actually, like the animation quality.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that drew me to it. Like, I never played the original, but just seeing the trailers for this, they were like, oh, this is made like a labor of love from people who are really into this game. But look, it's beautiful, first of all. Like, I just want to play it to see more of it. There's two characters you can play. There's either like the male blue covered ninja or the pink short pants wearing the female ninja.
Got like high tops on too.
And she's adorable. Like she's a little chubby, which makes it adorable. Like, look at the animation. It's awesome. Like you think of the absurdity of like, weird Nintendo characters fighting like these giant
like a giant eyeball robot with caltrops.
Yes. Yeah, the caltrops hurt the robots for some reason. Doesn't matter. NES game.
Yeah, electromagnetic caltrops.
Yes. But this game, so it's not just a reskin. They did kind of remake it from the ground up, and it apparently feels similar. I haven't played the original. I got to go back and play it after this. But it feels great. It's very deliberate. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not one of them speed games. If you try to rush through it, you're
gonna get wrecked.
Yeah, you get wrecked. You have to kind of methodically go through, which I appreciate, because a lot of old games do kind of focus on just blasting through, and that's fun. If
the gameplay is designed well for that, yeah. Sometimes it's just like they don't want you to stick around too long to see all the corners.
Yes, but this game, what's kind of fun about it is it has a ton of sub weapons. As you go through, I've only been through 3 of the levels out of 5 or 6, because it's hard. Like I'll go through, it'll take me an hour to figure out one level. But you can upgrade your main blade. Like you see, she's slashing and it's going in front of her some. That's an upgrade.
Oh, nice.
But then you see down in the lower right, she's got all those sub-weapon icons.
Those are. Okay.
Yeah, so those are all different weapons that you can switch to. And right now she's switching to, let's see what she picks. Oh, the giant like
cleaver?
reefy saw. Yeah, it's like a cleaver. And you can only use it a certain amount of times. But you get so many, like you could just... It's fun.
Play the game using them.
Right, and it's my inclination in these games. I don't know about you, but I hoard weapons and hoard items. And then
unfortunately, And then I'm just like, add the boss with a million of a thing I don't need.
Exactly. But this game, it really encourages you to use them as you go through. So,
I see you have a limited number of inventory slots, or is it different weapons use the same slot?
No, you're right. There's a limited, you can hold 7. And if you come across another one, you have to dump one. Yeah, it pops it out. And they're all like, I've played, some of them are just kind of like recovery items. Like it'll be a rice patty and you eat it and you get health. One of them's an energy drink. It makes you shiny. I'm not sure what it does yet. You would think it would make you go faster. I can't tell if it does.
Maybe it gives you like a damage boost.
Yeah, maybe it's a damage boost.
Yeah.
We say, all right, so you've got that standard weapon, and then she's also using this like hook chain. And the chain hook is awesome. Like, you can use it indefinitely. It goes all 8 directions.
I think it's called a kusagari.
That sounds similar. I believe you if you told me with conviction.
I was like, I've heard that in relation to a chain whip grapple item.
And in a lot of games, that'll be sort of a traversal method. In this, it's just a weapon. But it's great. Like, and sometimes I'm like, why do I use my sword? Because
Kusarigama. I was close.
But the Kusarigami in this case is wonderful. You use it in midair. You can use it on the ground. It goes 8 directions, and you just always have that.
So does it grapple and attack, or
No,
is it
just attack?
just attack?
Yeah, it looks like a grapple, but it's not. But yeah, you can see you go through all these levels are they don't reuse anything. Like, it's just new stuff everywhere you go. And the enemies are interesting, and it's got really weighty gameplay. I highly recommend it. If you do play it, though, it doesn't tell you a lot about how to play it.
Really? Oh, so it's intentional, or is it just a throwback to NES where you didn't have the manual, you're screwed?
Unclear, because there is a manual like hidden in like the options menu. And if you go there, it'll tell you about some very vital techniques that aren't obvious. Like when you're in midair, if you press down and jump, you extend your jump with a twirl.
Oh, wow.
Which is a pretty big deal.
You wouldn't figure it out by yourself. You expect a double jump to be tapped.
You tap it again, right? Or you press up or something. Not down and jump, but it's down and jump. See if she does it again. Oh. But then you can also grapple on like every surface. Which was not a common thing in the NES.
Yeah.
It's still not a common.
I was about to say, was it any game in NES let you mantle like that?
That's a great question. I can't think of one. I can think of some that let you no, not even like wall jumping wasn't really a thing on the NES.
Not a lot, no. It didn't have enough processing power to.
But yeah, in this you can wall jump. You can also wall run. Like you run upwards.
Oh, nice.
And that's cool.
Just like a ninja.
Just like a ninja.
Yeah, I gotta play this game. It's on Switch.
It's on Switch. Yeah, it's on Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, and Steam. Yeah, I think it's on everything. But it's a ton of fun. Let you, borrow it sometime. This is cool, and it's unusual in that they remade everything. They rebuilt it. And I think it was the original developers, actually, because I saw a video where it had them on, and they were talking about the things they changed.
Oh, nice.
So we're talking about like 60-year-old dudes in Japan who are just like, we went back to this game.
This 40 years ago, now we're going
to
fix the stuff we ended up not liking.
Which is like a really rare thing. You don't, I don't know, any other medium where you get to go back and just, let's remake this. Maybe like there's probably been some albums that have been re-recorded by like long-standing bands.
Yeah, that happens a lot. But it's not quite the same though.
No, because it's still the same music, the same song.
I would love to see Miyamoto go to work on some like Mario 1 or Lost Levels again, like do a remaster as opposed to an all-star style like glow up. I thought it was a remaster.
Yeah,
but do it with like modern sensibilities, like using like the Wonder tool set or engine or whatever. Just like make Mario 1 again.
Well, and that's an interesting point because like that would be fascinating, but then at the same time, it's like, well, or make a new Mario game with these ideas, right? Because Wonder's great.
But Miyamoto doesn't make the games anymore.
No,
real executive producery. But if he sat down and made this, that might be kind of cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, apparently, this was a small team of like 12 people who made the whole thing. Which there's a ton of art.
Well, yeah. If I saw the game look anything like this, I would have loved it. I just never knew about this game.
Yeah. The NES game doesn't look anything like this. Like,
I mean, it has to have some similar hallmarks, right? Like a character jumping around, slashing, or is the combat even like?
Oh, the combat was similar. Yeah, it had a lot of the same trappings, but they added like I don't think the sub weapon was a thing like it is in this. I don't think it had the like extra jump stuff.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking all that was also original.
And apparently, a lot of the enemies have like pretty new patterns. Like these guys are like the most basic. They just walk back and forth and die. But some of them, like in the old game, they looked the same, but they turned them into these like 60-foot tall mechs. They're just because we could make it look cool. Yeah, the shotgun coming. Oh, and you can hang off of everything. That's the other like the traversal is great. Really good. Have you played any remakes that you've enjoyed any time in the past year or so?
Like recently, I haven't. I really need to make time to sit down and play some because I was like very excited for Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Yeah,
to be re-released, and I was all ready to play it on vacation, and I I think I even bought it
You don't even know
digitally, and I just don't remember. No, I didn't buy it yet. It's not. But I love this game on N64, GameCube so much.
Yeah.
I remember playing through it. I loved the entire thing. I looked up guides after I finished it to try to figure out if I can go back 100% things. I couldn't at that point. But next time I play it, I'm like, I want to get everything. I want to exhaust this game. I loved it so much. The combat system, which I liked better than the Super Mario RPG combat system. Please don't throw rocks. I know people love Super Mario RPG. Terry's gonna be real upset when he sees this, but I like this combat system a little bit better. It was an iteration on it.
Yeah.
But also just had a lot more character, I felt.
Yeah, it's more unique, that's for sure.
And then the story was great. The writing, and I heard some of the writing was modernized a bit, but in a positive way in the new one. Like, or maybe not modernized, but like they went back and retranslated it, I think. So it's closer to the original Japanese text. They did a lot of localization for the original.
And this one's like a fan favorite. Like people who like Paper Mario are like 1,000 Year Door.
They're like, this is my favorite one.
And it's only been available on the GameCube up until now, I think.
So this is a re-release. I don't think it's like a slightly graphically.
Apparently, I was reading
fidelity remaster, but it's not like a from ground up. Where is it?
Well, apparently they remade all the assets.
Oh, they did remake everything. Okay.
Which is hard. It's Paper Mario,
but
so
they
it's
remade it to look like the old one.
Well, they remade it like in the same style, but apparently like they're like, oh, we don't have
new
high definition of these. So they just remade everything to be high def, because the old one was a lot of sprites, and the textures obviously were much less high. But you know, if somebody told you like this is like a slightly blown up, upscaled GameCube game, you'd probably believe them. Like it's not like it's pushing the polys.
That's what I thought it was. I was like, oh, yeah, like unless this is the original, like those pots and stuff look like. That looks like an N64 behind polys, low poly count objects.
Still low poly count. I think they just like up-resed all, they redid all the textures, which, you know, I bet there's a fair amount of textures, but it's not like they had to do crazy modeling. The one thing, I don't know if you care about this, one of the things the nerds were raging about for this game, the original was 60 frames per second.
Yeah, and this one's not.
Yeah, the remake, this is 30. It's targeting 30. Do you care?
Not really. I guess I would have to be looking at them side by side probably, and then I might care.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this looks like how a game runs. It could run, and this is because I'm watching a YouTube video of somebody playing a 30 frame per second game too, so it's a little bit choppier than it would be playing it in person. But yeah, no, I don't really care.
Yeah, this type of game, I don't think it's nearly as important, right? It's an RPG. It's not like you're relying on split second timing.
Yeah, and like the combat system wasn't tied to the frame rate.
No.
So if you press a button and the frame didn't render yet, it wasn't like not going to register your button press. It just, you saw it 1/60th of a second later than you would have otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, this game is mostly about the charm, the writing, the battle system.
Which it has in droves. It's one of the most charming games I've ever played.
Yeah. Between
this and A Link to the Link's Awakening, probably. I don't know which one I feel like is more like, I just love living in this world while I'm playing.
Yeah. Yeah, and this one, it all takes place in like a wretched hive of scum and villainy is like the main town, right? Do you remember what it's called? It's Rogueport?
Rogueport. Yeah, and there's a whole subplot with the princess being like a robot falls in love with her or something. Like a robot captor who's keeping her hostage is like falling in love with her, and it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, because it's like watching her in the shower and stuff, I remember.
Yeah.
Like that's in the game. And then all the battle takes place on a stage, which was kind of an interesting take.
They took like the aesthetic of like Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3. Of like, oh, it's like presented to you for your enjoyment on stage, and they took it literally. And I love it. Goombat's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then you had a variety. You can only have one side character at a time, right? There's only 2 people in your party.
Is it 2 or 3?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I got it.
So are you gonna play the remake?
Yeah, definitely. I just have to remember to stop forgetting it exists.
I need to remember to stop forgetting. I really enjoyed it playing it. It's one, again, like I don't know that I'm compelled to go back, like given the time. Like it's a fairly long game if I remember correctly.
Yeah. But I just remember when I played it, it was when it came out. I bought it on release. Yeah. So it was like 20 years ago when I played it. So I think that's long enough for me to experience it all again, most of it again for the first time. Yeah. So I think I will actually get through it and enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think
generally, like my problem with remakes sometimes is I'm like, oh, I know this game too well. I already played it to death. I don't want to play it again, just looking better.
Right.
But when there's a game I haven't memorized or I haven't played in so long that it's fallen out of my mind, it's like a new game all over again. I always appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think I would feel the same way about this game because it's 20 years old at this point. 20 years ago, I don't remember. We barely remember the name of the main town, right? So there's so much. The only thing I really remember is Rockhawk. You remember? there's this whole section with wrestling, and one of the wrestlers is this guy named Rockhawk, and
he like yells everything.
Yeah, he yells everything. He's basically a
luchador,
WWF Carnival Barker guy. Okay. Yeah, which is great. But yeah, I've been having a similar kind of feeling though, like revisiting an old favorite and then rediscovering it with Resident Evil. Resident Evil 4 remake came out earlier this year, I think. And
if not late last year.
Yeah, that one, it's been great. When I started it, I wasn't sure. I was like, this feels different. It feels wrong. I got used to it.
Yeah, I remember you playing the hell out of this game when it came out.
Yeah.
On GameCube.
Oh, the original's so good. And it had a mode, the Mercenaries in the end that you can replay for. I'd go back. If someone was like, hey, do you want to go play the Mercenaries on Resident Evil 4 again? I just always say yes. Yes, I will spend an hour or two doing that. It's like a score hunt thing. But yeah, this, I don't know how they did it. They made it beautiful. And this doesn't really do it justice because of all of the artifacts, but it is just a great looking game. It didn't look bad to begin with. Like, it's not that old. It's like 20 years old.
20 years. Yeah, that is that old.
Yeah.
We're just old.
Yeah, we're just old. But going back, there's a bunch of stuff I didn't remember. And so in my mind, as I'm going through it, I'm like, I don't remember this. Is it an addition or do I just forget? And now, like, going through it, I want to go through a walkthrough of the old one and be like, well, how much did they add?
Is the merchant still there?
Yes. Oh, and the merchant has so many more lines. He's got, I think it's either the same voice actor or someone really similar.
What are you buying?
Yeah.
I got popular memes and Mega 64 made me very famous.
Yeah.
So are you going to buy something or not?
Exactly. He basically says that. He'll go up like, gun rhymes with fun for a reason, mate. It says lots of great lines. I like, just even if I don't need to buy anything, I go to him every time. Just be like, what's he going to say now? Yeah.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, this was about, Leon goes to like a Spanish town where people are infected by stuff.
Yes.
Or maybe.
Yeah. So the president's daughter is missing. So yeah, Leon Kennedy is sent to go rescue the president's daughter who disappeared. And he finds out that this Spanish town, they don't say Spain, they say Europe, but it's Spain. They all speak Spanish. Yeah. But yeah, he goes to a small town and then a lot of the villages are acting weird. Not quite like zombies. They're Ganados. They're not zombies. So they still speak. They still say words in English language, not English language, in Spanish language,
in human language.
But they are kind of zombie-esque.
Right? Oh wow!
They are not taking care of themselves very well. They're kind of rotting in some ways, falling apart, but they're still like eating things, and they come at you with weapons. Like they are actually. They'll try to use smarts and crowd control on you. Oh, really? Yeah. So it was really fascinating at the time because we hadn't really encountered enemies like that, especially in a Resident Evil game.
There was always like one, like Nemesis would follow you around, but it was also kind of scripted.
Yeah.
Like Resident Evil 2. But then this one, it's like, I mean, still scripted because it's enemy AI, but Nemesis was scripted.
Yeah.
Like you step on this one pixel and he busts through a wall and you have to run away from him for 10 minutes. Like,
yeah. But this game, like, it's a lot about crowd control. Like, you only have so many bullets of so many guns.
Wait, is that like a giant mutation to a spider?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I haven't gotten up to this point yet in the game, the old game I have. But everything looks so different. Look at that giant thing. It's awesome. The people who are at Capcom doing these remakes, like, they're really good at it. And this engine, like, I don't know what it's allowed them to do so much. They call it the RE engine.
Yeah.
And it runs Street Fighter.
Now.
Street Fighter 6 runs on this engine.
I think every modern Capcom game in like the last 5 years. I know Monster Hunter Rise uses this engine too.
Oh, wow.
I think World didn't. And I think Rise was the first one to use like the RE engine. But yeah, Street Fighter runs with it, Monster Hunter, this.
Very, very different games, all of them. It looks great. The artistry is amazing. The acting. So one of my favorite things about this game is it embraces campiness. And it's one of those, it's not afraid. Like Resident Evil, I like because of the camp, but this one really plays it up hard. Like you come into an old mansion and one of the evil guys, the main evil guy is a like Napoleon-sized man wearing a Napoleon cap with an old man face, a little boy body, and he talks like this, and it's hilarious. Like Mr. Kennedy. It's funny.
Yeah, this looks indistinguishable from like Resident Evil 8.
Yeah. It's
sure the same engine, but
identical graphical fidelity, right? Like it just looks good. They redid everything.
Yeah, the combat, right? Now I think I might have to put my hands on this because I always hated Resident Evil combat.
Yeah,
but it sounds like this one they made it play more like a modern third-person game.
It does play more like because now you can move and aim at the same time, which is something you couldn't do in the original. And at first I wasn't like, I don't know if I like that, but it's good. It gives it. I think they ramp up the enemy difficulty accordingly. They know that you can go move at the same time, so they'll go behind you.
He can move his neck and his shoulders at once. You got to make the enemies tougher.
Well, and there's a bunch of times I swear, like I check behind me. I'm like, all right, no one's behind me, and I focus. I try to corner myself so that nothing can come by. They find a way. I'm like, where did this guy come from?
Climb down from the ceiling or something.
Yeah. And there's a lot of moments where you're going through, and I'm just like, how do I get through this? Like it's killing me, and then you'll think, like there's a section where catapults are raining down fiery hell on you at a castle. And I'm like, I don't know where these catapults are coming down. At first I thought they fell in the same place every time, but then it was shifting. And I'm like, I'm escorting Ashley at this point. So she gets hit by a cat. I'm like, what do I do? But if you snipe off the guys running the catapults, you stop the catapults.
Nice.
And pro tip, kill the catapult guys. Goes a lot easier. But yeah, so every time something feels too hard, there's a clever way around it.
Oh, awesome. And was that like something in the first original game too, or was that like added in this one?
There was a lot of that in the original game. I think they just added more. Yeah, they're like, what if we had like instead of an army of like 50 people making this game, we had nearly 1,000. Great, budgets are big.
Yeah,
I don't know how you continue to make games like this, but I'm gonna enjoy it while they can.
I mean, Capcom makes a lot of these. Their games tend to sell pretty well.
They do.
So I guess they have a nice war chest.
One of the few big third-party developers that's still good. Because Konami, everyone used to love Konami games, but now they're
It only can be started with Konami.
Yeah.
I thought you have a remake that's coming out soon. The Snake Eater Metal Gear Solid 3 is being remastered. Remade.
Yeah.
It's not remastered, it's remade. The trailer already has some story beats that look changed from the original.
Yeah.
So I saw some hardcore fans getting like up in arms. They're like, oh no, they're changing my game. And it's like, it's been 10 years, 12 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. The last one
came. Well, no, 12 years since the Xbox 360 version that came out. I think it's been 20 years since the original.
Yeah, because that was a PS2 game originally.
Yeah. I remember I famously got Metal Gear Solid 3 for Christmas from my girlfriend, and then I never opened it.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, I don't want to play a stealth game right now. And I never wanted to play a stealth game. I ended up selling it for like $20, I think, after way after the Xbox was done. Because it wasn't a collector's item.
You don't still have it.
I don't believe I still have it. I believe I sold it for like $20. But
yeah, if you were ever going to enjoy a Resident Evil game, I would say try this one. Like it's gameplay wise and story wise and everything. It's just the best one. It's Resident Evil 4 is the best one. I'm just gonna say it. It's super good.
I want them to remake. I thought they might have already Resident Evil Code Veronica.
They haven't
in this engine.
Yeah.
I think they remastered it before, but I want them to remake it with the RE engine because that was my favorite Resident Evil game. It is currently my favorite one that I've played.
Yeah, then I would love to see that. Like, because very few people played it. It was on the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
and the Dreamcast, not enough people bought it. But yeah, it was very good.
Pour one out for the
Dreamcast,
homie.
Yeah. But speaking of things that Konami is doing, there's another set of remakes they're making.
Yeah, the Castlevania Dominus collection.
Yes.
Which is collecting the 3DS Castlevania.
Which is not 3DS, the 3DS Castlevania games. Yeah.
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah. But this was really exciting because I think, to me at least, the DS games are the best ones. They're great.
Yeah, at one point, my favorite 2D game was Dawn of Sorrow.
Yeah.
With Soma, and I was like, this is so cool. It's in the future, but Dracula's still around. And you basically play as Dracula.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. And then I replayed Symphony of the Night. And I was like, okay, no, this is still the best.
I think some of the Order of Ecclesia, I think is better. I think I like it a little bit better than Symphony of the Night's great. They're all great. And these are all in the same vein, right?
Yeah, they like build off of it, yeah.
Metroidvania Castlevanias. So they're all about exploring a big castle with a map, trying to get new abilities that let you progress even further. But they all have their own little thing going. And what's cool is like, so these are original DS games, which means you had 2 screens.
Yeah, they use bottom screen for like, I think it was like maps, but also like character enemy information.
Yeah. And
one of the games you drew like glyphs. I think it was Dawn of Sorrow. You drew glyphs in order to like activate abilities, or you had to like destroy certain blocks by touching them with the touchscreen. And for what I read for the remake, you use the hold one of the triggers, and then you can use the right stick while holding the trigger in order to emulate, at least touching the screen. So like to break the breakable blocks, you use that. The glyphs, I think they automated, which is fine because it was really just like a dexterity check. Like, do you have your stylus ready during this boss fight? No, then you lose it. You got to start it over again. I was like, skip that step.
It was really just like the DS is a new exciting platform. Let's use all of its features.
You can use the gimmick for all as much as we can, yeah.
But yeah, as we see, so this is
Ecclesia.
Portrait of Ruin.
Oh, Portrait of Ruin.
Which had the 2 characters. Portrait of Ruin's great too. Like that's all about jumping through paintings to go to different castles. Yes.
Is it Jonathan Belmont? You know?
I forget if his last name's Belmont. I think he's definitely in the Belmont line. And she's like a sorceress, so very effectively one of the Belnades. I forget how they're, but you see in this now, the DS had a much smaller resolution than modern systems. So they're like, hey, we'll just use a big third of the screen for the map and the status, which I think works. Like seeing the map all the time is really useful in these games.
And like you can tell it's a DS game because you see the animation flourishes. Like the clothes are moving around, and when they jump, like Jonathan jumps and is like bang, like lands a second later. Yeah. Just because they're like, we have the door with overhead.
Oh, it makes it look great. Oh, and that, so the other person is with you, just kind of always.
Yeah. You can swap back and forth between the 2 characters.
And they attack with you.
Yeah, I gotta check. Yeah, I only played Dawn of Sorrow.
Well, and that's great. It's a good one, but like, this is worthwhile. Like, I own all these games. I've played them recently on the DS. I kind of want to get this just because I want to play them again.
Play them again, yeah.
These are really good. Arguably the best of Castlevania. You always have to fight the giant, like, boar demon with half a body.
It'd be overpowered if you fought the whole body. They saved that for the end of the game.
Yeah. Well, I always felt, so I think this first happened in Castlevania Rondo of Blood and Castlevania X, which came out after that. They had this enemy, but it was always, I remember as a kid being horrified and shocked by this because it's not until later do you actually see the rest of its body is ripped off. Yeah, and you're just like, that's so gross. Yeah. Now it doesn't faze us because we've seen, we've grown up watching gore. But back then I was like, oh, this is the
grodiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Do you remember that feeling? Like, did you ever get that feeling, like as a kid, just like seeing something shockingly gory?
Unfortunately, no, because I was like 6 when I happened to see like the guy's arm get cut off in Predator by an invisible space alien. And after that point, I was like, nothing shocks me anymore. I was so scared that night. I like couldn't go to sleep. But then that kind of like
Carl Weathers scarred you for life.
It inoculated me against like most gore in movies and video games. I haven't seen any gore in real life, knock on wood.
Yeah.
I don't know. In media though, I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that when I was 5. I shouldn't have, but I saw that when I was 5.
That's interesting. So it really inoculated you, just completely remove that fright factor.
Like I tend to see like, especially in a movie, like the artistry of it. Like, oh, I wonder how they did that. I wonder how they achieved that practical effect of like this person's like face falling off. Because sometimes, especially back in the day, it was always practical.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's just like, oh, they use
CGI. A computer did it.
But like that's why I do appreciate certain. I don't love zombie movies as a genre, But I do appreciate some of them for like when they have practical zombies.
Yeah.
It's always fun to just wonder how they do it and try to figure out how they make the effects work.
Yeah.
Like, that being said, that's still a gnarly surprise in video game where you're just like, oh yeah, I'm fighting this enemy with a warrior's head and a demon's body. Oh, it's only half the body. Oh no.
God.
But if it's crawling around and beating you up after that, who knows what weapon you need to defeat it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be able to beat this thing until you eventually get strong enough to be able to beat it.
Something already ripped off half its body and it's still alive. How am I going to beat it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to find the other half of the body and put it on like a mech suit.
So this game, they came out with other creature comforts in it, and they were showing before there's a rewind feature and a kind of any save any time feature. Those don't really, these are games where you shouldn't need that, I think.
I mean, you shouldn't need it, but also like you're speaking to with the remake for 1,000 Year Door, like sometimes people want to experience the game, but they don't want to experience the experience of playing the game that it used to have. Where
just the hits.
Yeah, like you don't necessarily have time in your day to like have to start a stage all over because you died at the, right before a new checkpoint. You died and you lost 15 minutes of gameplay. Like, I know I always hate that. That keeps me from playing some older games too much.
So you would use the rewind and feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. I'm glad it's an option, right? I'm not mad that it's there.
Yeah. But like in this collection, at least they made it so that it's a separate, it's separate from the save states in the game, which I always appreciate because I don't want to be like, oh, I rewound past a save point in the game.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to like abuse it and I don't have to rely on it. But in this pinch, like, oh, I just missed a jump and I have to go traverse through the castle again for 15 minutes. I'd rather be able to just redo the jump and not waste 15 minutes on a small thing.
Yeah.
But if I'm not going to like save every time I hit a boss to whittle it down to eventually have a save where the boss is just about dead. I hit it one time. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Now on your boy Soma here, who is in Dawn of Sorrow, the first one on the DS. I think some people were a little bit upset that it was anime style for the characters.
I mean, I appreciated it, especially because it is set. It was set in the future.
Yeah,
I think it's like 2025.
Well, they said in the intro there was a solar eclipse in 2035, and then things are happening. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a couple decades from now, a decade or two from now. But yeah, I was just like, Castlevania, Dracula's been coming back, Castle's been coming back for hundreds of years. Like the first game, even if you take like Lord of Shadows, the 3D one, that was supposed to be the origin into account. It was like the 800s when all this stuff started. And the castle first started teleporting around.
Still very medieval.
Yeah. So this is just like, oh yeah, it happens. Like the timeline's like 1,500 years of Dracula dying and coming back. And it's like, but now he came back as an anime dude.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know he's Dracula. And then he finds out he's Dracula. And it's like,
I was Dracula all along.
I don't remember if Alucard shows up in these games. But I feel like that would have been a fun twist. If someone shows up and you have Alucard, it's like, I'm Dracula's son. It's like, you're my father. And it's like, me?
And what's cool about this one, the gimmick, aside from all the touchscreen stuff, was you could steal the souls of enemies. Yeah. And they would unlock an attack for you. So right there, he's got the peeping eye he just beat, but he didn't collect the soul. It's like random. Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Because you can farm. I had to farm a couple enemies to get their souls when I realized they were good and I wanted to use them.
It's not dissimilar to Pokemon in that regard, right? Like you're just trying to collect all the enemies' abilities.
You collect them, but some are much more useful than others.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that they each had one that could be collected. So it gave me a little bit of incentive to replay sections where I have to go back through for 15 minutes because I missed a jump. At least I can try to collect some more souls I didn't get before.
And what I always also loved about these games is that there's a luck stat, and you can use equipment to increase your luck stat. If you're just farming, you'll be like, I'll put on my lucky ring and my lucky vest and my lucky underwear.
Maybe you'll kill an eyeball and a turkey pops out.
Yeah.
You get health back. It's great.
But it makes it more likely that you'll get the souls with the higher luck. So, you can make your own luck in this game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Julius Belmont was Belmont in this one.
He's like, oh, I'm gruff. She's a Belnatis. Man, they've been going for a long time, keeping that last name. Yeah, it's cool character design. Like it's anime, but it works. And I feel like past ones like Rondo of Blood was very anime.
Yeah, well, especially Dracula X was.
Yeah, it works. I think there's more dialogue in this than you might be used to in a Castlevania game. Yeah, it's fun. Definitely recommend. I haven't played this remake yet, but I know the original games are some of the best of this genre. Like,
Yeah.
now I just want to play them. Like, just watching these games is like,
I
man.
remember just playing this in my old apartment in the dark in the DS where I was just like, supposed to be going to bed, didn't want to go to bed, had to work the next day, and I'm like, I'm going to play a couple hours of Sorrow because it's on a handheld 3DS. It was cool.
Yeah, played under your
It was
blankets.
fun.
It's great.
It's a well-made game. The combat feels great.
This is a compilation of 3 of the DS games. There was a bonus though.
Yeah, the arcade game The Haunted Castle or just Haunted
Castle.
But it was that was made after Castlevania. I just read the other day. I thought it predated series, but it was made after Castlevania, but as the arcade version basically. It was notoriously hard.
Yeah.
And it was hard because it was notoriously janky.
Yeah. We've had it at the shop. We usually do that around Halloween time, which is coming up soon.
I remember trying to get past the first stage and I was like, why do I keep dying immediately? It's like, remember, you know, Ghosts and Goblins is real tough at the beginning? This one was like, hold my chain whip.
Yeah.
I find a way to be more infuriating.
Well, yeah, if you thought Castlevania jumping felt stiff before, you haven't played Haunted Castle. Like, it is the stiffest game.
It can't be worse than RoboCop, though.
Well, yeah.
I don't even think he could jump.
No, he couldn't
but
jump.
walking up and down stairs, you had to be pixel precise.
Yeah. Well, the stairs work a little bit better in this. Haunted Castle had messed up stairs, though, just like the original Castlevania. Like, they couldn't figure out how to make that feel good.
But the fun thing about the collection is it was like a commercial. Next up, in this collection features Haunted Castle and also its remake, Haunted Castle.
Tell me more.
Okay, Sonic. They went. I think they remade the whole game, right? Like, it's not a remaster. They have like new assets. The gameplay is smoothed out. The difficulties smoothed out. Not flattened. It's just made less coin grubby. You're not actually putting in coins.
They don't care. Like, you have infinite credits. Just
you already paid for the game, so you might as well make it fun.
And that's great. No one asked for that, but I think lots of people are like, oh, I really do want to play that, because Haunted Castle is like kind of a missing piece of lore that a lot of people never played, never saw. I never saw it in an arcade.
Yeah, before we had it at the shop, I had never heard of it.
Right.
And it was funny. One of the reviews I read was like, I would have given this collection a 5 out of 5 if not for the original Haunted Castle. But then the remake Haunted Castle brings back up to a 5 because it's great.
Yeah, it's great, and it's just in time for the spooky season to start. It is officially September. So, you know, Disney World has been doing it since August. It's Halloween in Disney World.
Pumpkin spice latte. Fight.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I know it's not quite a remake or remaster, but it is a collection.
Yes.
The Capcom Fighting Collection.
Oh, yeah.
1 and 2 are coming out. One's out now, I think, and one's coming out soon, which we actually saw announced at the Nintendo Partner Direct as well. Part 2, at least.
Yeah.
Bringing back Power Stone.
Yeah, that was actually the
1
big
and 2
one
for the first time for like anything that wasn't I guess it was on PS2 and Dreamcast, but it hasn't been around.
PS2?
I think it was on one of the PlayStations. The first one was, or second one maybe.
Then, yeah.
But yeah, for the first time in decades, you get to play Power Stone.
Amazing. Power Stone alone is like.
Unless you have a Dreamcast that runs it like you.
Yes. Power Stone's great. Power Stone 2 let you do 4 players, which was super fun.
Yeah. And it was just like an arena fighting game before those were popular.
Yeah.
It might be the first one.
It was after.
The first 3D one.
It was after Smash Brothers.
It was after Smash Brothers.
It was after Smash Brothers, but it was, it's in a 3D plane. So yeah, this is SNK versus Capcom. Capcom versus SNK.
Yeah, I wanted to remake. The first fighting collection was announced a couple weeks ago, and I was like, why does it have Capcom vs. SNK 2? It's my favorite of the mashups. And then they released this, or will release this soon.
Power Stone 1 and Power Stone 2, both of which are fantastic.
And Project Justice, which is a sequel to Rival Schools United by Fate, but they don't have that in the compilation.
Street Fighter Alpha 3 is like another great one. Fighting Evolution, I don't even know this game.
Nobody liked this game. It was in the arcades. It sucked.
But Plasma Sword's a 3D game.
Yeah, I'd heard of it, and I never played. I didn't even heard of it because Hayate was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I knew what the character was.
I was like, what's that guy from?
But yeah, this collection has a bunch of classics I've owned but haven't been able to play. Actually, yeah, I tried to play Project Justice on my Dreamcast, and the disc
caught fire.
Well, no, so I'm trying to think now because I just looked it up, and those are going the original disc for like $500.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, do I have an original or do I have a pirated copy?
Yeah.
But whatever it was, the disc was skipping. Like it wasn't reading correctly.
Right.
Every other Dreamcast game worked properly. That one, there were second skips every 2 seconds.
Well, you have to check, right? See what you got at home. If it is an original, it might be able to buff out.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a good retro gaming place. Yeah.
Yeah, because I will sell that for a couple $100.
Like, I'd happily like $500.
I probably missed the boat because this is coming out next year. Okay, so I got time. Get it sold now. So because if I have the original, it's in the original case and everything. So I always kept my original cases.
Yeah.
But I sold a couple of my Dreamcast games back in the day, which I regret. Like Sonic Adventure 2, I sold because it was out on GameCube, and I was like, if I want to play it again, I'll play the GameCube version. That was dumb of me, and I shouldn't have done.
Well, I think that collection's interesting. So, it's a bunch of games just rehashed, right? There's nothing new about them. Mm-hmm. They just like, oh, we got some extras. There's an art gallery, but you're playing the same game. But on the other hand, it's a really interesting curated collection. Like they're all unique. Yeah,
and there are games that haven't seen the light of day, and series haven't seen the light of day in decades.
Yeah, that makes it a lot more.
You can't play them now without lots of expense.
It's
in some
a lot
cases,
better.
not at all.
Like they had a Street Fighter collection previous to this that was not as interesting because they was like, we have Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Turbo and Street Fighter 2 Turbo Ultra.
Yeah,
and like I was like, why do I like if you have the latest version of that, you probably don't need to go back and play the old one. Like
and if you're one of the 3 people that really needs to play Hyper Fighting Edition and don't have it on SNES, then have fun playing with the 2 other people that enjoy that.
You can play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Are you gonna play Second Strike?
Second Strike was, well, to be fair, Second Strike was terrible. That's why I made a Third Strike.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate like you said, the conservationist angle of like, these games will still be playable, at least, because coming out on Steam, I believe. So as long as Steam is an ecosystem and PCs operate on the same, they're not quantum yet, so you can still run it.
Yeah. So it's cool that it's there. It just didn't feel like they would list like 9 games included. It's like, that's really 2.5 games.
Yeah, it's like, I want to play 3 maybe. I don't care about the rest of them.
Yeah.
Although I saw an interesting stat that basically was like, there's 2 Capcom games for that era that have not been re-released on anything. And one's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fighting game.
This Dreamcast
it was a
one, right?
2D one, yeah, which I'd heard about and never, because at the time I heard about it, I didn't know what JoJo was.
I didn't know what JoJo was either.
I thought it was a Japanese manga thing.
Like, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, why would
and then I watch all the anime, I'm like, I would love to play this game. I want to see like their take, because none of the characters were voiced yet or even animated, so they have different color schemes than we know from the anime and different voices.
Could you look up JoJo Dreamcast? I'm just curious to see what it looks like and what arcs
I'm pretty sure it's pixel art. Yeah. Like sprites.
Which would be amazing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, it's an hour and 3 minutes of JoJo on Dreamcast. So for those who aren't familiar, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a series of manga and anime. It's just bonkers nonsense fighting stuff.
Yeah, the manga started in like the early 80s, mid 80s, and it's still going. and it's animated up to like, it's through like 5 or 6 arcs, but there's 3 arcs still, like every arc is like a decade of this the same author writing and drawing these characters. It's a fascinating world that's been built.
It's made off of these rules, and the rules are kind of loose.
They're just loose enough so you can lawyer your way out of any situation.
Yeah.
But I wish there were more games like in the world, like RPGs or something based in it would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun because it's a fun world to inhabit.
It's got to be continued. I guess that's from the manga then, like that's always been.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So, the whole point of JoJo, well, in the modern art, not modern arcs, they're old, but
modern from 1995.
There's a group of people who have these abilities called stands, and stands are basically like super powerful ghosts that fight on your behalf, and they have abilities. And it's great to see these characters in this form. Actually, everything is drawn like it's an '80s like pop homosexual album cover. Like it's all these things mixed together. Like look at these characters. Look at Boldarev. What is he wearing?
It's the most new wave thing that has ever existed.
Super new wave. Like if everything in the world was the cover of like Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah. and it's great for it. I love the series so much.
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah,
it hits this tone like nothing else does.
And like all the characters are like basically male models, including the male models like stereotypical stances they always stand in. The author is always trying to come up with new ways to have characters stand in ridiculous poses.
Yes. Now I want to play this game. You're right. I want this to be ported.
But part of the conceit though was all the characters, all the non-main, actually some of the main characters, just for every character, but the main characters, the JoJos, are named after musicians and bands and songs. Yeah. So there's lots of copyright issues. It's probably why this won't be released anytime soon.
But they're not. See, I don't think anyone ever came after them about it. Like I think it's preemptive. They're
it was very preemptive because Warner Brothers has the rights to the anime distribution. I think the media distribution, and they own a record label, so they're like, we would sue. So we make sure. Like there was a villain named Vanilla Ice, and they changed it in America to something similar, but not quite. It's like Polar Ice or something.
But they still kept in the first arc. There is my favorite character's name is Ario Speedwagon.
His name's like Richard Edward Orlando Speedwagon.
Yes, Ario Speedwagon helps JoJo, who is Jonathan at that point.
Yeah, Jonathan Joestar.
And he teaches him how to use the power of air and the sun. His hamon. He must focus his hamon.
Special breathing so he can fight a vampire who was
named Dio.
Named Dio after the metal legend. And he was his. It's not a JoJo cast. We're going to make a JoJo cast for a second.
Yes.
Jonathan Joestar is in like 1880s Victorian era England.
Yeah.
His family's super rich. Dio's father throws himself in front of their carriage. No, they get in he throws himself in front of the carriage. It causes an accident. He then scavenges their dead bodies, but he finds out they're not dead. Mm-hmm. So they're like, "Oh, thank you for saving us, strange man." And he's like, "Darn it, my plot to like destroy these people and steal their stuff failed." So he's like, "Hey, since I saved your life, adopt my kid."
Yeah.
And he tells the kid, "Go kill them all and steal their stuff." And he steals an ancient mask from Mexico that turns him into a vampire.
Yeah, turns him into a vampire. And then he's alive for the rest of the series.
That's like the first 2 episodes this happens. And then, for the entire series, he's just like in the background causing trouble. Or in the foreground causing trouble.
It's so over the top.
Yeah,
and that's what's
that's
great
Dio
about.
right there on the right.
Yep. That's, Dio and Jotaro.
And so there's just like this family feud. And between Dio and the Joestar family.
The best thing is how over the top it is. Like Dio and his dad are just pure evil for no reason. Yeah. Like, all right, they're poor and they're jealous of the Joestars, and that makes sense. But the Joestars are nice to them.
Yeah, they didn't do anything to them.
They did nothing, and they're like even like, "Oh, I'll adopt your son and I'll feed him and give him an education and give him a good life." And Dio's like, "I can't wait to kill you all, you Joestars," and he does.
Yeah, and then for 150 years, he like keeps tormenting them.
It's awesome. So if you're looking for something stupid and fun to watch JoJo.
And if you find any of the games, there was a 3D fighting game that was re-released couple like last year. That one's fun, but it doesn't have the same charm as the Pixar sprite pixel art game.
Sprite art, like I didn't realize it looked like this, so it's great. Oh my god.
The only reason I knew about this at all is because I thought the character Ruby Heart, I read somewhere, the character Ruby Heart from Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was a JoJo character, quote unquote, is what I heard. And I was like, what's JoJo? And then I was like, they're like, this anime, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I think maybe it said she looks like a JoJo character, and I just misread it.
Yeah.
Because she does, like she has like a long trench coat, she's tall and thin and like strikes poses, but there's no character named Ruby Heart in JoJo.
Oh.
That I know of. Maybe she's from like one of the last 3 arcs that haven't been made yet.
We're talking about things we want to see like made, spin-offs. I want to see a Ruby Heart mainline game, like made by Capcom.
Ruby Heart, Sansan, and Amingo.
So these are all characters from Marvel vs. Capcom 2
that were original characters, I believe, for all of them.
And Ruby Heart was like basically a lady pirate, and she attacked you with like giant anchors and waves. And was awesome, like a great character design. Amingo was a giant living cactus man
with a sombrero.
He was basically a shapeshifter too.
Yeah, he would like extend his arms through the ground, and cacti would come out and stab you. And then Sansan was a little like monkey person.
Basically the Chinese monkey.
Yeah, Son Goku. Yeah, from Journey to the West. Sun Wukong.
Yes,
Sun Wukong. I'm pretty sure Polnareff from JoJo was the inspiration for Guile, Because that's how old that character is. I'm pretty sure it came out before Street Fighter 2.
To think that JoJo influenced Street Fighter 2.
I think it was close. It might be the other way around, but it's very close.
Yes. Oh God. When they show like the actual drawings of the characters, that just gives you an idea of like the fashion magazine.
Yeah.
Look at the pose, and that's what he looks like in the show. Just so good, so bad, and so good. Like it. If you need to be in the right mood for this. Like you need to be embracing your cheese.
Yeah, he's Mohammed Abdul.
Abdul, yeah.
Instead of Paula Abdul.
Yeah. It's great. It's so stupid. It's and right. His stand is called Magician's Red. I wonder what that is supposed to be.
I can't remember, but it's a song. I think. Yeah. Oh, Prince threatened to sue.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, because one arc, the Golden Wind is the name of the stand.
Yeah.
No, Golden Experience was the name of his song.
Okay.
And they named the stand that, and then he threatened to sue, so they changed it to Golden Wind.
So you're saying that we have to blame
Prince, the artist formerly known as, and then later known as Prince before he died. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
We have him to blame.
So that's the worst thing Prince ever did. Is what I'm hearing.
By far, yeah.
He neutered JoJo for the American audiences. Sucks.
Oh yeah, the first arc has AC/DC.
Yeah, AC/DC.
Who is a person whose name is AC/DC.
And it's Cars. He fights with Cars.
Cars.
Oh, and what's the third one? There were three Pillar Men. Cars, AC/DC, and
I can't remember, but
something
the names
stupid.
were it's ridiculous. It's just like, yeah, Cars with a K. It's like, okay. And then AC/DC.
AC/DC. And they spelled it ESDISI.
Yeah. They tried to make it real ethnic. It's like, this is perfect.
Oh, man. So yeah, I guess, are there any other games that you'd like to see a remake of in the future?
Ooh. They have never been remade. Let me think.
Or something that was remade in a way.
That was unideal and should be
should have been better.
I think they should remake Link's Awakening again.
Yeah.
Only because I didn't mind the art style as far as like, I can't believe they made this art style for a Zelda game. Like, it looks cute, it looks fun.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was at the detriment to the gameplay from some of the reviews I read. Some people's opinions.
Oh, you haven't even played it at all.
I haven't played it. Have you played it?
Yes, I bought it digitally and played it. And it was.
Did it feel the same? Because it seemed like it was such a departure. It doesn't like, I wanted a sprite art, pixel art.
The level layouts are the same. It plays very similarly, but it's like off.
Yeah, like because what I was like, I couldn't tell from people's opinions if it was just playing on new hardware that made it feel different, or if it was the look.
See, the look is good.
Like, look and feel like conspired to make it just feel different.
See, I'm torn on this one because it's obvious love went into this.
Yeah,
like they did a great job, or at least a very thorough job, like making this game look nice. Someone cared. Yeah. Right. But I think one of the biggest things to me, and might be stupid, but there's scrolling, and the Game Boy game had no scroll.
Yeah, you had
screens, jump from screen to screen, and that changes a lot of the way this game feels.
That's what, like this game has a charm. It's not the charm.
Yes.
Like I would like a 2.5D like Octopath Traveler style remake, like graphical style remake with individual screens of Link's Awakening. I would play the hell out of it.
You're like, do it again.
I would love the hell out of that.
Try again, Nintendo.
Yeah, let us Square Enix get a crack at it.
The other thing that was weird about it is that it did have like frame rate inconsistencies, which annoyed me a lot. Like,
if you have static screens, you don't have frame rate inconsistencies as much because you're not trying to render everything. You're rendering squares around where you are.
Now, what's interesting, they're making a new game, a Zelda game on this
Echoes of Wisdom?
Yeah, Echoes of Wisdom is coming out this year, this month.
In a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks, using this engine, completely new game. That one looks interesting just because it's new.
Yeah. It's not a remake of a game that I already have burned into my brain.
Yeah.
Then it's not even that it looks different. Like I said, it plays different because of the scrolling.
Yeah.
That's enough to make me it made me not want to play it. That's why I never played it.
Right. But that game I am curious about because you play Zelda first of all, which is new. And her whole thing is that she makes copies she uses magic. You see something in the world, you can then copy it. So you can make an enemy be your friend. You're like, oh, I copied a Moblin. Now the Moblin's my buddy. She doesn't do a ton of direct combat in the game. Like there are modes where you can do it, but it looks like it's mostly figuring out puzzly ways to get through situations. And that's interesting. It's new.
Yeah, and I was reading the map is basically the map from like A Link to the Past. From like what people have noticed in the trailers. Like everything's in the same place except Death Mountain's like slightly to the left.
Okay.
But like Telltale Heights is in the exact same place in relation to like the swamp, in relation to the castle.
Yeah.
So it seems, off topic. Did you hear that Nintendo published an official Zelda timeline?
Another one?
Yeah.
I saw the book.
Well, they didn't publish it. There was like a Nintendo, I forget what it's called, but it was like a Nintendo developer conference.
Okay.
And like internal conference, not non-public. And some Australian publication posted a picture of a slide, which was the timeline that is in the book, Hyrule Historia, that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are off to the side and not connected to each other. So it's like, yeah, all these line up. The Echoes of Wisdom wasn't on the list because this is from like a week or two ago. But people are like, it probably fits on the timeline with Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds, which is all one timeline. And then it's like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are, according to that slide, unrelated side stories to the Zelda universe, which is weird because
it's weird. Yeah,
it seems like Tears matches up with Follow's Breath. The characters act like they know each other already, but that doesn't preclude them from being completely different.
Tears directly follows Breath, like 1-to-1. The same characters are talking about things that happened like it's
right before. Yeah. So they should have been connected. And I'm like, did the Nintendo mess up?
And they
forget to connect.
Not only they should have been connected, but like there's a lot of connective tissue from like Breath of the Wild to the other games.
Yeah. So that was the thing. Like there's a lot of speculation and research put into like, this seems like this is that in the future. Maybe this is in the past. Like, how do these line up exactly? Looks like Nintendo was just like, they punted it. They're like, yeah.
Well, they were like, just like, we don't care about this. The fans keep begging for this. We'll force something. I don't know, but I always felt like, especially Tears of the Kingdom has a lot of references to Skyward Sword. Because you go up in the sky and it's all about people who came from the sky originally, which is what, Skyward Sword's about. So that's interesting. They just didn't want to do the work. They're just like, these are new. We didn't figure it out yet. Put them somewhere.
Yeah, there's literally like a bar in between the timeline and then there's a bar and then there's just two pictures to represent those two games. And it's like, so you didn't even say like they're alternate or anything. They're just like, end these games.
Now I remember the timeline had one split, right?
It's two splits.
Oh, it's two splits. Because I know the one, Ocarina of Time, if you lose or if you win, right? The hero's timeline or
It's if you lose, then you get the heroes defeated timeline, which is like the original Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. All those games are in that timeline. Like Legend of Zelda 2, Adventures of Link.
Yeah,
is technically the most recent game in the hero loses timeline.
Okay,
from Ocarina. And then if you win, hero wins timeline has child and adult versions.
Okay.
Of the timeline.
Yeah, I see.
So it's like sense. If you stay an adult, then it goes this way. If you stayed a child and wins, it goes this way.
It's a silly way to delineate, but it's Nintendo.
And those seem to be a lot of the more like niche, inventive versions of the games. Like I think Wind Waker's in one of those, and then in the child one, I think, or the adult. But yeah, it was interesting. Like the first Zelda game is the latest in the timeline.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't count Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom as in the timeline. And Echoes of Wisdom looks like it might be in the middle because there's, getting real in the weeds now, River Zora, which are the ones from Breath of the Wild, like Prince Sidon and them. And there's Ocean Zora or Sea Zora, who are the enemies that you always fight.
No, I thought it was the other way around. River Zoras are the ones that shoot at you.
Okay. So and the Rivers and the Sea ones are
the
those.
Ocean Zoras are
the article I read last night had it backwards.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
how it is. But then in this game, it looks like they're having a peace summit.
Yeah.
In one of the shots. So they're like,
awesome.
Yeah. So they're like, well, maybe it's in between. Like maybe it's towards the later end, but you still fight them. Link still fights them in Legend of Zelda. So maybe they don't like Link, but they like each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. Like the Minish Cap was like the second chronological Zelda game.
Oh.
And I always thought that was a spinoff of not Wind Waker. Yeah,
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker. It seemed it doesn't have the same art style, but it has
a similar
chibi art style.
Yeah, it's definitely influenced by that, and the art on the the supplemental art was very much Wind Waker inspired.
Yeah, but that's right after. That's the first one after Skyward Sword, and then like Four Swords Adventures right after that, and then it splits off into Ocarina and all this stuff. And I was like, so it seems a little bit different than it was an updated version of the Hyrule Historia map timeline, but it seems different enough that I need to take a deeper dive in it. But
Yeah.
Link's Awakening is squarely on the timeline to get back on track. It's after Link to the Past, before Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
I think it's still arguable if it's the same Link as Link to the Past. I thought it was supposed to be.
I think it's supposed to be.
And then Link Between Worlds is definitely not the same Link because he has blonde hair and the other Link has brown hair. So I think it's supposed to be like a descendant or something.
Or
there's another thing too. They gave this Link blonde hair, and he definitely had dark hair in the Game Boy version.
Well, he had green hair.
Oh, true.
But yeah. See, I feel like it's somehow less than the sum of its parts because it's adorable. Yeah, it looks great.
Looks cute. It should play well because a remake of a well-known game. But if you change a well-known game even a little bit, it can fall apart. Like Sonic the Hedgehog 4 was a horrible attempt at revitalizing Sonic the Hedgehog because it felt like a non-Sonic the Hedgehog game, which was it ruined the whole point of playing.
Yeah, and so I think maybe
a remake of that would be good. Get back.
I want to see remakes of more obscure games, right? Games like Shadow the Ninja I never played. I barely heard about. And now I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. This has brought it into a new realm that I can enjoy. When maybe I'd go back to the old game and be like, this is a little clunky. You know, whereas a game that I love, I don't necessarily want to play a remake of that because maybe they screwed it up.
What's a game I've never heard of or never got a chance to play because it was just like, you're never... Like Time Splitters?
Yeah.
The fighting game?
Oh no, well, Time
I thought Time Killers. Was Time Killers?
Time Killers was the one where you dismembered people.
Yeah, that one. I never saw that machine.
Yeah.
I would like to see a remake just because I want to check out this fighting game that people apparently were grossed out by.
Yeah, I was grossed out by that.
Oh, you've seen it before?
Yeah, I saw it. I remember I was in Cape May at the arcade there and saw people playing it, and I saw an arm get cut off, and I felt physically sick.
Oh, wow.
I was like, they've gone too far.
This shouldn't be on my video game.
I was like 10. I was like, oh, gross.
I would like a remake of that game. Yeah, so, I've never played it or seen it. So
yeah, the weird side stuff. I did the same. They did the remake of Wonder Boy, one of the Wonder Boys, the Dragon's Trap.
Yeah,
with beautiful art style, and I played through that, and I was like, this is great. Probably wasn't going to play the original.
Yeah, because those were on like Master System, I think.
Yeah, some of them.
There was Wonder Boy in Monsterland, which I think is the third or fourth one. I wanted a remake of that in the same art style as the Dragon's Trap.
Yeah,
because it looked beautiful, and it was a Genesis game. I think it was on Master System, remade on Genesis. I played on Genesis, got stuck because I didn't have a manual. So I would like a new version with a manual, or at least some kind of instruction so I know how to play it, and then I want to play it while it looks gorgeous and beautiful.
Yes. So I think that developers, if you're going to remake something, first of all, I would prefer a brand new game. But if you're going to remake something, make it an obscure, like, cult classic, or an obscure thing that you think you could make better.
Mario is missing. Make it a full game and not an edutainment thing on CDI.
Mario is missing remake. Yes.
That would be great.
Make a good one.
What was the other one? It was a Mario in Time or Mario in History?
Mario's Time Machine.
Mario's Time Machine.
Yeah.
Actually, I prefer that one because you play as Luigi. No, I think both you play as Luigi.
I think only Mario's missing. I think Mario's Time Machine
only Mario.
Yeah.
Was that on SNES too?
I think it was eventually. It was originally PC. But
I remember CDI had a version of one of those, not both. Oh, yeah, the Philips CDI. Remake that.
Wand of Gamelon.
Oh, one last remake. Kind of has obscure games. The Atari 7800 console is being remade by Atari.
Oh.
They released a 2600 apparently last year. I guess a little fanfare because I didn't even hear about it.
I hadn't even heard of that, and that's the famous one.
Yeah, and so they're releasing 7800, which will play 2600 and 7800 games, like carts. So if you have the game cartridge, it will play the game cartridge.
Oh, cool.
It will use the controllers. It has the native ports. I guess they're just serial ports.
Yeah, they're just serial ports.
But they made 12 new games for the two systems.
Oh,
that you can buy in physical copy to play in the game.
See, that part's cool. Like they went back and made new games for this old hardware.
Yeah. And so I was like, that sounds really cool. If it's not too expensive, I might even get one just for nostalgia. Because we had a 7800. It was nice and black and chrome.
You had one?
Yeah.
You're like dozens of you.
If we didn't have one, my cousin had one. It was I saw it all the time.
Yeah.
And I know my brother had a 2600 when that came out. It was the wood paneled one.
Yeah.
The 7800 was metal and chrome.
It was like a boat, right? It was huge.
Yeah. It was a desktop PC and everything but name.
What's cool is I bet if you open that thing up, there's like one board and the rest is air because that's how people did things in the 80s.
It was just heavy dense plastic because it was heavy too.
Yeah.
But But yeah, I just remember looking at that system. I was like, it looks so futuristic in 1987. Like, anything look better than this?
It's amazing. You open up like an NES and it's mostly air. Like it's even the NES cartridges usually like have like one small little like 2-inch high PCB and the rest is empty.
That's why blowing in it was so effective. There was nothing but air. You had to push the air inside around to get the dust off.
Well, we're looking forward to new stuff. We're looking forward to old stuff made new again. But we hope that we will see you next time, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
We'll see you with a new podcast, not a remade podcast.
Yeah, we're not going to remake this one.
Except we remade a bunch, actually.
Shh. Brand new all the time. We're very novel.
If you didn't see it before, it's new to you.
Thank you, guys. Once again, I'm Chris.
I'm Steve, not Chris.
You're Steve. That's your name this time. And we'll see you later. Thanks a lot.
That's Dylan laughing in the background. See you, everybody.
YUNKJunk!